When we think about love, we usually think of it as this feeling, right? An emotion that just kind of happens to us. But what if that's not the whole story? What if love is actually something you have to work for, a skill you can build and perfect? Well, today, we're cracking open a really fascinating historical guide to what its author saw as the ultimate form of love.
So where are we getting all this from? We're looking at a guide from 1837 called On Divine Love by St. Alphonsus Liguori. And listen, this isn't some dry, dusty old book. It's actually much more like a spiritual workout plan. It lays out a whole system for acquiring this divine love and even gives you tests to see if all your spiritual effort is actually paying off.
So that's the big question, right? According to this way of thinking, what does it really take to love? We're not talking about flowers and poetry here. The answers this guide gives are methodical, they're demanding, and honestly, probably not what you'd expect.
All right, so here's our game plan for breaking this down. First, we're going to look at the why behind all this, the book's core idea of God's art and desire. Then we'll get into the how, with the 5 means to acquire love. After that, we'll check out the proof, what the text calls the 2 sure marks. And finally, we'll see why this kind of love was considered so incredibly important.
Okay, let's jump right into that first part, the whole premise of this guide. The author argues that before you can even start to learn how to love, you got to understand why it's such a big deal. And believe it or not, the answer starts from God's perspective, not ours.
Wow, this quote really cuts to the chase, doesn't it? The whole idea here is that God isn't some far-off, detached entity. No, the book paints this picture of a creator who actively, maybe even passionately wants our love. It's almost as if God feels incomplete without it. And this isn't just a casual wish, it's framed as a deep, divine need.
And because that desire is so powerful, the book says it's not just a friendly invitation, it's a straight-up command. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with thy whole heart. Suddenly, love isn't just a nice feeling, it becomes the absolute central purpose of being human. It's job number 1.
Okay, so if loving God is the main directive, how in the world are you supposed to do it? Well, thankfully, this guide doesn't just leave you hanging. It gives you a really practical, step-by-step method for getting there.
So here are the 5 main actions the guide lays out. First, you've got to clear out your heart. Get rid of all those earthly attachments. Second, you spend time meditating on sacrifice. Third, and this is a big one, you align your will completely with the divine will. Fourth, you think deeply about eternal truths. And finally, you use prayer to ask for the strength and especially the love to do all of this. You can see, right? This is not a passive thing. It's an all-in spiritual workout for your heart, your mind, and your soul.
Okay, let's zoom in on that third one for a second. Conforming the will. Because the book says this is the absolute peak, the highest perfection. And it's not about just gritting your teeth and accepting whatever happens. It's about getting to a point where what you want and what God wants are the exact same thing. So much so that you find real peace in everything, the good, the bad, because you trust it's all part of a plan that you love.
All right, so let's say you're doing all this stuff. You're following the steps. How do you know if it's actually working? How can you be sure this love is the real deal and you're not just, kidding yourself? Well, the guide gives you a test, 2 sure marks to look for.
The big metaphor the book uses is fire. Think about it. According to the author, real love is a lot like a flame. It's not just sitting there, it's active, it does stuff, and it's tough. When the wing tries to blow it out, it doesn't just die, it fights back, it can even grow stronger. So these 2 qualities, what it does and what it can endure, that's the key.
And this chart here just lays it all out so clearly. On one side, you have what the book calls love of the tongue. Basically, fake love. It's all talk. It's easy when things are going your way, but it completely falls apart under pressure. But then you have the real thing, love in deed and truth. And this is proven by 2 things, action, which means laboring for God, and patience, which means suffering for God. This is the kind of love that does what needs to be done even when it's hard. And get this, it's supposed to bear those hardships with cheerfulness.
But here's where it gets really intense. The book actually says that of those 2 signs, action and suffering, suffering is the better proof of love. Why? Well, the thinking is that when we do things, it can still be about us, right? It can feel good, we can be passionate about it. But to willingly suffer for something or someone you love, that requires totally letting go of yourself. And in this worldview, that is the ultimate test.
And the perfect example of this, according to the guide, is the story of Job from the Bible. I mean, it was one thing for Job to be faithful when he had it all, a great family, money, his health. That's the action part.
But his love was truly tested and proven in the suffering part, when every single one of those things was ripped away from him and he still stayed devoted. That's what made him the gold standard. Man, this sounds unbelievably hard, right? So, why bother? What's the point of all this? What's the big payoff for achieving this kind of love? That brings us to our final section.
Well, the payoff is everything. In this way of thinking, this divine love, which is also called charity, isn't just another good quality on a list of virtues. No, it's the queen of all virtues. It's the one that rules over every other one. Everything else, even faith and hope, is basically working for it.
And the reason it's considered the top dog comes from the writings of St. Paul. The logic is all about what lasts forever. See, faith, well, that ends once you see the thing you believed in. And hope, that ends once you get the thing you were hoping for. But love, or charity, it's different. It's not just a tool to get you to the destination. It is the destination. It's the one thing that never ever ends. It just keeps going forever.
So, where does this leave us today? Let's step back from the 19th century theology for a moment. What can a framework like this teach us now, in our more secular world, about what commitment and devotion really mean? It really makes you think, doesn't it? Is love just a feeling that comes and goes, or is it something proven by what we're willing to do, and maybe more importantly, what we're willing to endure for it? Whether we're talking about a person, a cause, or an ideal, that's a pretty challenging way to think about what it means to be truly committed.